Good morning. Thank you for joining. I'm Carlos Chidiac. I'm the regional manager for GOMA Scientific in the Middle East and Africa. And I will be presenting today the GOMART Vitals integrated with the Lungsim. So this is a new product launched by GOMART Scientific where you can have the Lungsim. Actually, the Lungsim is a mechanical ventilator simulator, so it's exactly like a screen that has all the functionalities of a mechanical ventilation. It is incorporated and it's integrated with the vital signs monitors and the controller of the simulator HAL with our systems. Okay, so our focus today will be on the mechanical ventilator simulator Lungsim. I would also like to invite you. So besides this webinar, we will be having another webinar during the IMSH on Wednesday, March 10. It's going to be at 11 Eastern time, so it is GMT, 4 p.m. GMT. Okay, to view more about the product. Okay. In the meanwhile, so let me start with the showing the software. So this is the Lungsim. The Lungsim is meant to simulate a real ventilator. So for simulation centers who do not want to invest in mechanical ventilators, for simulator centers who have beginners in mechanical ventilator and really will not afford at the moment teaching them on a real mechanical ventilator, and for educators who cannot even afford to see their students and due to the high demand on mechanical ventilation training, this tool is excellent because it's also used for remote teaching. So you can be teaching your students remotely. You can have them access this software through any desk or through TeamViewer, and then they would be able to adjust the ventilator settings while they are at their home and you are at your office. So you could also use this as a remote training software. Okay, so as you see here, it's like 100% generic, let's say, ventilator. It has all the functions that you need to see. So you have the initial, of course, control, the initial setting, which you have to decide. Volume control, pressure support, APRV, and then, of course, during the ventilation, you could have BiPAP, SIMV, EDI, and this is later on you can start your assisted modes together. Then you have the settings also to have adult, pediatric, or neonatal patients. And then you can click on Start Ventilator. Okay. In the meanwhile, if you are not a GOMARD user and you are not using a mannequin today at all, you could still push this button as an instructor, and then you will get an IP address. So with this IP address, you could enter the IP address on your mobile phone. Okay, so I'll do that now to show you. 192.5. Okay, so as you see now in a while, okay, so you will have on your screen the mobile screen. So you will have the controller that will enable you to change the vital signs and the lung parameters, and then of course trigger some changes in the situation of the patient. Okay, so this is on the mobile phone. So I will quit from the mobile phone because I cannot share two screens. So I will show you exactly. So it could be on your mobile phone. You could, as an instructor, be changing parameters from here, but also you can be doing it through the desktop also. So if you have, you are on your desktop, so it's no problem. You just, again, the same thing, put your parameters and put your IP address and control it. Okay, so here it is. It is the same. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. So you have the lung parameters. This is exactly what we saw on my screen. So you have the capability of controlling different, let's say, parameters. So the airway, esophageal pressure, you can change it. You can change the chest compliance overall, increase or decrease. You can go bilateral chest control, lung control. So left lung, you can control the lung compliance. So you can the lung left lung inspiratory resistance. So you can increase the airway resistance on the inspiratory level and the expiratory level. Of course, you can apply to both lungs also at the same time, but you could still have different values to the right and to the left. The diaphragmatic, also the respiratory muscle effort, so you can have the patient really take a deep breath or just a shallow breath. So this is something you can control. And of course, on this list, you have everything you need. You can also have the expiratory flow losses, inspiratory hold, the delta P1, P2. So you can go much deeper into details and the output parameters, of course. So you can go with all these details as an instructor and create a case. You can either send it immediately or save this as, a palette, a scenario, so you can keep it to use it several times later on, and you can load those scenarios later. So look, I've created previously so many scenarios. So a COVID patient that was admitted and intubated and ventilated, then with complications 3A, 3B, more complications, 4A is the resolution. So now the patient is fine and like ready to be extubated. You can also introduce some complications like the loss in the tube. So the tubes can be loose and leaking air, bend in tube, water in tube, and mucus plug. Okay, so all of these also complications can be simulated, and whenever you change those, it will reflect on the ventilator parameters, either by having, like, the flow oscillations, or having high pressure, high volume. So it depends on what pathology you want to simulate on your ventilator. Okay, so going back to the ventilator screen, and let's start the ventilator. I started with volume control and then went with an adult patient. And here you go. You can start seeing the traces. Okay, so if you want to have a quick view, so you see the parameters here. So most of the ventilators on the market present their parameters and the waveforms, all this as it's very similar way. So this is the screen where you can do measurements. So if you would like to do measurements for volume, pressure, time, and flow, you can anyway click on the freeze button here and then do some annotations. So horizontal to see like the time, okay, in seconds, milliseconds, okay, and also you can check the let's say here the volume, okay, and measure how much volume are you giving. Okay, so this is how it works for the annotations. And then this is, of course, again, if you want again to the IP address to get the IP address for the instructor interface, you click here, and this is the setting button. So where you can capture, where you can import configurations, export configurations, because you can adjust the configuration of what you see here in front of you. Import esophageal pressure. So these input-output synchronization. So these settings are advanced settings. So you can customize your screen and you can get scenarios, import scenarios from other users. Okay, so this is the right side. To the left side, Of course, we have the modes, so you can at any time change the modes. You can also change the views, so you can have three traces, four traces with the esophageal EDI. Okay, so you can add this, or you can even go with um, the loops. Okay, five traces. I'll show you the five traces. EDI and esophageal pressure now. Okay, so and we can add loops. So nowadays, many people also would like to see the loops, okay, which describe volume to pressure, flow to pressure, and flow to volume loops during a respiratory cycle. Okay, so let me go back to the three traces. And then you can set the alarms, so pressure alarms, volume alarms, okay, respiratory rate alarms. So if this is, these are your settings for the limits that your patient can the patient limits. So if the patient has you know, some emphysema condition, you really don't want to deliver high pressure, or if the patient really needs high volume, you also have to set up your volume to be like reasonable for the patient's case. Then you have the maneuvers. These maneuvers are done like to calculate the values of or these measurements of the resistance and compliance, and of course the PEEP values. So if we do inspiratory hold, so as you see, there will be a long inspiratory hold, and then another inspiratory hold. So see, the plateau is large. So these inspiratory holes, you can tell, you can say how many times do you want holes, and then automatically the values will be measured. Okay, the beep, the static compliance, the resistances, okay, the plateau, everything will be so the same you can do for expiratory pressure, expiratory hold. So see, the expiration is held, and of course you will have the PEEP value measured and the plateau measured. Okay, so those maneuvers can also be done. The tube checks, okay, so the water check to the instructor maneuver has been performed, and then from the maneuver, from the instructor interface, okay, we can tell the learner is checking if there is water in the ventilator, so which is good. And in this you could tell if the student is, the learner is really reasoning the right way, checking everything. Okay, so and then the standby button. You can also from the low panel here, tight volume 400 milliliter, you can increase or decrease. You click on it, you can increase to whatever value you need to increase. Okay, so it works with a touch screen, and it also could work with you know, the mouse or any other devices on the keyboard. PEEP, also you can increase the PEEP in case you have a patient which needs a better support and accept. So now see the PEEP will increase. Okay, so respiratory rate also you can increase or decrease, and this, as you see, can affect the total volume, because when you decrease, when we decrease, look at here, when we decrease the frequency, the total volume will decrease. So the total volume per minute, liters per minute, will decrease. Okay, so then see the alarm now because I decreased the respiratory frequency. There is an alarm. I know you might not be able to hear the alarm, but it's obvious. The alarm is saying that the total volume is low. So what I have to do is either to increase the tidal volume, because I didn't save it last time. So if I increase the tidal volume to and click on accept, okay, so with time maybe I would reach to 5, okay, and it will go away. Okay, so the volume is increasing and the alarm is off now. So it's an interactive software that shows us that teaches us the maneuvers that we have to perform in case we encounter any of the alarm. Inspiratory time, of course, this is the I over E, inspiration over expiration. We can program it. The inspiratory rise time 5%. So this is the inspiratory rise, the speed of inspiration, and pause, the time for the respiratory pause. So this is the plateau here, and talk 10 or 5. This is the percentage of the whole respiratory cycle. Concentration of oxygen. This also reflect on our vital signs monitor. So if you have also the GOMARD simulator, you would have also the vital signs monitor, which will show you the blood pressure, SpO2, EtCO2, all the values that you need to see. And then the limit of pressure. So because we are on the volume control, so you can also have a pressure limit. So you can increase or decrease the limit. So it won't go to high pressures by accident. Okay, but we need to protect the lungs of the patient, and so this is what takes us to have pressure limit. Okay, so I will do one scenario for you, and so this was like a real patient, like a patient for a standard patient for a surgery or any procedure. Now I will have a patient with COVID. Let's say I will go straight to the complicated case where I have decrease in compliance, increase in resistance, and I will click here. So now after I click, this is the patient now is see we have changes already. And we will have the ventilator parameters changing. So let's see what changes with decreased compliance and increased resistance. I can push even harder changes so it becomes obvious. So I can decrease further the compliance. Okay, increase the resistance. Okay, so this will also, I will show you, so I will show you how this will affect the how this will affect the flow also. So now the volume is low. Okay, so it's telling us the minute volume is low. Everything is changing, all the parameters are changing. So the peak pressure is 38, it's also elevated. So what I have to do now is to increase the tidal volume, which I cannot do because I have reached peak pressures. So in this case, I have to move to a pressure control. Okay, and when I move to pressure control, I need to increase the respiratory rate so I can compensate for the total breath I'm giving, and click on accept. Okay, so and then I can set my pressure limit 15 above PEEP. So if I have at the PEEP to 10 and I select 20 above PEEP, or 25 above PEEP. So this will allow the ventilator to give higher pressures. Okay. So respiratory rate is high. It's saying the respiratory rate is high. So I can just decrease the respiratory rate because it's also not healthy to have a really high respiratory rate. Okay, so this is like a patient really not receiving any volume, you know, so it's really high in compliance, low in compliance, high in resistance. So this is like an extreme patient, and this is where we really face the problem. So this was an extreme case. I could also manage to go with a different case, let's say, um, with a patient that is not that much in a complicated situation, and click here. So again, we can go and check the patient. Okay, so things are easing now. So we have really big total volume. Okay, high limits, and we have to adjust. So 21 liters is fair enough. So let's wait till it adjusts. Okay, and of course you can set to lower pressures if you need your patient to be safe from high pressures. Okay, so and this is how it works, and this is how you can set up your values. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the demo. Of course, you can record the sessions and use for debriefing after you finish. And this is also a great added value. So you can record the exact screen with every setting that you removed, and use it for educational, either for examination and debriefing or for your educational sessions. Thank you, and I'm open for questions if any questions are needed.